Hello students, my name is Mr. Harshal Neskar and we are learning the subject of basic human rights, and this is lecture number 28. And from the last two lectures we are studying this particular social inclusion of migrants and how these particular internal migrant workers they can be included into our Indian society. All right, in the last two lectures we have studied the solutions like migrant registration and identity of internal migrants, then political and civic inclusion of these particular migrants. Then we have studied the rights of women and how these particular women migrant can be included into our society. Then how these migrants can be given a legal advice by some forming NGOs. All right. So, in this lecture, we will particularly continue this part of social inclusion. All right, and the next point in this regard is the inclusion of internal migrants through the housings. All right, so the migrants they face difficulties in accessing housing and other basic amenities such as water and sanitation, and often they live in urban slums which are facing constant threats of displacement and eviction from government officials. The shelter solutions they don't give much attention for the needs of seasonal migrants. The seasonal migrants who come to the cities for a short period of time, and some shelter programs such as slum rehabilitation schemes are in fact discriminatory towards the new migrants because they require evidence of residence for a minimum period prior to the allocation. And among migrants, homeless migrants in particularly, they face a very worse situation as they live on pavements and frequently they bear the brunt of police assaults. A few municipal corporations have set up night shelters for the homeless urban poor and which are also accessible to the internal migrants. But such initiatives appear to be dependent on the goodwill of the municipal corporation towards the urban poor and migrants. And many of the homeless migrants in Delhi are from Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, West Bengal, Rajasthan, and Madhya Pradesh who have left their villages on account of extreme distress situations. And these migrants are construction workers, rickshaw pullers, domestic help, rag pickers, and other daily wage workers who provide critical services in the city. Hence, the term homeless here is a situational description for them, while the term city makers it gives a more positive and dynamic identity to these internal migrants. All right, so instead we are using this particular word that is homeless migrants. We should use the word of city makers. All right. So moving on, the uh, there are some schemes and societies that are formed by some NGOs with the help of the state government or central government that is present in our country, and we will study this particular schemes or societies in depth. And the first is the Indo Global Social Services Society, that is IGSSS. It has found the City Makers program for the urban poverty intervention for homeless populations. The program was created out of the need for comprehensive network to address the homelessness in the city, and it works toward the following points. The points that are considered while forming this particular society of Indo Global Social Service, and the points are to ensure a dignified life for city makers, that is the homeless persons, with opportunities to grow and prosper. The other objective is to create community leaders from urban slum areas as housing rights activities in 10 cities, and which are falling under the Rajiv Gandhi Awas Yojana. And another objective for this particular society is to build a national coalition on urban housing rights. Besides Delhi and Bangalore, IGSSS has initiated work in the states of Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, and Haryana. It is presently managing three permanent shelters and six temporary tent shelters, which are functional around the clock, as well as the two model bamboo canvas shelters in the Nigambodh Ghat area of New Delhi as a safe and eco-friendly alternative to the temporary tent shelters. The IGSSS also manages two homeless citizen resource center, that is HCRCs. They are an initiative of the Delhi government under the mission Convergence, and its aim is to improve the quality of life of homeless citizens or city makers through a single window system. So that is the Indo-Global Society's social service society, and which helps the particularly city makers or the homeless persons for the to provide the temporary or permanent houses to the particular migrant people. Then we have the Ram Roti Yojana, and the Bhopal Municipal Corporation started this particular Ram Roti Yojana scheme in November 2010 to provide good low cost food and shelter options to the poor migrant persons. It has been operational in Bhopal, Indore, Gwalior and Jabalpur of Madhya Pradesh state. The scheme, it is basically provides a night halt and night shelter called as the Rain Baseras, which costs only 2 rupees per night, for which each traveler is provided with a bedsheet, blanket, pillow and a cotton carpet, and that particular cotton carpet is called as the duri. The homeless are also given access to the toilet and bathroom facilities, and under this scheme, there is also food served in the morning and evening sessions for from the counters of bus stand and railway stations. The food is served to people making a night halt at shelters and poor travelers at the rate of only 5 rupees per head. The food packet contains 6 rotis, cooked vegetables, pickles, onions, and green chilies. And each night shelter has the capacity to accommodate at least 300% making a night halt, and other facilities at the shelter. It includes a ramp for handicapped persons and installed water coolers also. In February 2011, the Urban Administration and Development Minister announced the rain baseras would be constructed in the cities of Madhya Pradesh that have a population of at least 100,000 number. All right, so that was the Ram Roti Yojana by the Madhya Pradesh government, and that these particular schemes or this particular society, they need to be replicated in other states of our country also. There are some efforts are going in other states also. All right, so that was the inclusion of migrants through the housing. Then we will move on to the particular issue of educational inclusion of internal migrants, or basically the educational inclusion of children migrants. All right. The seasonal migrants, they often take their children along with them when they migrate for work, and which negatively impacts upon the regular and continued schooling of their children. The seasonal migration cycle, which is usually from November to June, and hence it overlaps academic sessions in schools, which is from June to April. Hence, the migrant children, they end up attending the school only between June and November, and this temporary discontinuation of study, it frequently results in their dropping out of school altogether. In the case that migrant children take up education at migrated location, they face learning difficulties based on the differences in the academic syllabus or the languages of the other state where they have migrated. The re-enrollment in source schools at the end of migration cycle, it is very rare, and when it occurs, migrant children are often readmitted in the same class owing to the inflexible school procedures. The right to education of migrant children thus remains compromised. In the absence of school education, the migrant children they miss critical inputs that are necessary in their uh, early years for physical, cognitive, and psychosocial development. Health risks such as malnutrition and anemia they remain prevalent among the migrant children. And further, these migrant children are often inducted as child labor at the work sites and are found to be working in the sectors such as constructions, big manufacture, salt making, sugarcane harvesting, stone quarrying, plantations, fishing, and rat hole mining in coal mines, which are dangerous or hazardous to the health of these children. Despite the Child Labor Act that was introduced in the year of 1986, the children work for long hours as unregistered and invisible workers in family labor units, and their wages are also paid on a piece rate basis. All right, but these issues they can be solved with the help of some NGOs or the support from the central or state governments, and there are also some educational plans or the schemes that are been running in the states. All right, so we will study about this. The first one is there are some seasonal hostels in Gujarat called as Setu, and Setu is the center for social knowledge and action intervention to provide elementary education to the children in the 11 to 14 years age group in a seasonal hostels. It began in the year of 2004, and by 2008 it was extended to five districts of Gujarat that are Jamnagar, Rajkot, Junagadh, Surat and Dangs. By the year of 2010, a total number of 5,478 children had been covered by Setu's seasonal hostels in 54 villages of 7 blocks. These hostels they are enabled children to stay back in their villages and continue their education uninterrupted when their parents have been migrated for the work. These hostels in the home villages were functional during the months the workers migrated, and they were overseen by the village committee, the village panchayat, and supported by the Setu team. So that was the Setu that has been working from year of 2004. The seasonal hostel model it has been adopted by Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan at the state and central level as an effective model to prevent the migration of children and to educate them and to prepare them as full citizens. Every year, more than 100 seasonal hostels are sanctioned by the state and managed by the NGO in state of Gujarat. Then we have also worksite schools in Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu states. So let's study about this and the plan or this scheme that is called as Aid and Action. Through its multiple branches, Aid and Action program, it has directly reached out to the 9,000 interstate migrant children between the years 2009 and 2012, making education accessible to the children in their native schools. The program data it indicates that there are 6,453 interstate migrant children in 163 worksite schools in 10 districts in Andhra Pradesh only, and they have benefited from their intervention. Similarly, in the district of Tivelur of Tamil Nadu, Aid and Action has established 10 worksite schools catering up to 2000 430 migrant children of families working in the brick kilns. These worksite schools they have set up with the support of worksite owners close to the brick kilns where parents of the children were working. Aid and Action has also collaborated with the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan of Tamil Nadu to ensure education for the children of migrant workers working in rice mills and construction sites also. Aid and Action, it has established 9 seasonal hostels in Srikulam, Andhra Pradesh with the support of the local NGO. So that was the Aid and Action Plan from that has been working or the in process in the states of Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. There are also some similar programs like residential care centers in Odisha called as Lokadrushti, which has started in the year of 2004 with the help of American Indian Foundation AIF, New Delhi. The figures of Lokadrushti, they show that till uh, June 2012 they had been able to give learning support to the 11,594 children. There are also initiatives like mobile learning center called as Butterflies. The mantra of mobile education program of Butterflies is, if the children cannot come to the school, let us take the school to them. Its objective is to bring out of school migrant children into the proper way of education. This has especially benefited migrant children who often cannot attend school because they do not possess school certificates and other proofs of identification. Currently, the Butterfly program, it reaches out to 427 children across 11 project locations in Delhi and 4 project locations in Haridwar districts of Uttarakhand state. So that was some educational schemes or the programs that have been running all over our country, and these programs can solve this particular problem of education for migrant children. All right. So moving on, there is also another solution of to provide the public health inclusion to the migrant workers. So basically, the health of migrant, it is affected by a lot of factors such as health environments in the place of origin, transit and destination, transit and destination, the conditions of the journey, accessing to drinking water and basic amenities, and availability of food. At the destination where the migrant workers work, the migrants are exposed to the health risk, including communicable diseases like malaria and tuberculosis, and occupational health hazards such as respiratory problems, lung diseases, allergies, kidney and bladder infections, back problems, and malnutrition. The migrants, they often suffer injuries and accidents at work site, and yet they do not get any medical care or compensation from the owners of those particular work sites. The women and adolescent girls, they are doubly disadvantaged in this regard. Among women and children migrants, maternal and child health indicators remain poor due to the early marriages, early pregnancies, giving birth at the absence of a doctor, frequent childbirths, successive childbirths with little spacing, etc. So these are the basic problems of a women or girl girl migrants. All right. And despite the existence in India of the Prohibition of Child Marriage Act that was amended in the year of 2006, that the early marriages, they continue in the communities of migrant workers, and they mark the beginning of a vicious cycle, and which often leads to the poor health, malnutrition, and it leads to the exclusion of young girls from education way. The internal migrants, they suffer from high HIV burden of around 3.6%, which is 10 times of the HIV prevalence among the general population of India. The migrants arriving at high prevalence HIV work destinations, they remain at high risk of acquiring HIV/AIDS and bringing in back to their home villages and towns. The migrants living with HIV and AIDS, they face double discrimination and stigmatization. The migrant women living with HIV suffer the most from multiple and intersectional vulnerabilities. The data shows that the percentage of women who reported HIV in India, it has increased from 25% in 2001 to the 39% in 2009. Moreover, it has been observed that only 10% of women living with HIV were female sex workers, whereas the 90% of acquired HIV infected patients were from the general population who have acquired this particular disease from their husbands or from intimate sexual partners. So that is the health issues that are been running in the internal migrants, and we also have, or the government also have given some uh, attention to these issues of public health of internal migrants. So let's study about those health schemes or the programs that have been running in our country. So the first is the National AIDS Control Organization, that is NACO. It has devised a plan for HIV intervention for migrants, in which migrants and truckers, they are addressed as the bridge populations for prevalence of HIV. These interventions provide information about risks and counseling of the for sexually transmitted infections, including information on HIV testing and antiretroviral treatment. Besides targeted interventions led by NACO, the state AIDS control societies, that is SACs, there exist other non-targeted migrant HIV programs implemented by the NGOs, and the NGOs that are implementing these particular programs are Award Society in Maharashtra, Revamp, reducing vulnerability of AIDS in migrant populations, a Care India initiative in Uttar Pradesh, Delhi, Rajasthan, Gujarat. All right, so these are some NGOs that are working against or to prevent this particular spreading of AIDS or HIV. Then we also have the Red Ribbon Express, which is NACO in collaboration with the national NGO, that is Rajiv Gandhi Foundation, and Ministry of Railways, Ministry of Youth Affairs, and UNICEF, has pioneered this Red Ribbon Express, that is RRE. It is specially designed exhibition train identified as the world's largest mass mobilization drive on HIV/AIDS. It provides information primarily to young people and women in semi-urban and rural areas regarding the prevention services on HIV/AIDS. There are also sexual and reproductive healthcare services for migrants. The Disha Foundation piloted a project designed to improve the sexual and reproductive health, that is SRH, of migrants in district of Nashik, Maharashtra. The project covered about 15,000 migrants in Nashik, of which approximately 40 to 45% were women in the age group of 12 to 55 years. The project adopted a participatory approach for improving the quality life of migrants. Migrant workers were directly involved in articulating their needs and identifying approaches for getting access to public services. Disha Foundation introduced a formal referral process for migrants to government health services to provide better access to health care in Nashik. Then we have NGOs like Yuva, or the private company like Larsen and Toubro, and with collaboration of DY Patil Hospital, the Migration Resource Center that was established by Yuva, that is Youth for Unity and Voluntary Action, organized a health camp in collaboration with Larsen and Toubro Constructions and DY Patil Hospitals at migrant sites of Kharghar, Navi Mumbai in June 2012. The main groups targeted were migrant laborers working on construction sites. The health checkups took place in response to the need of workers who were found to be reporting various occupation related illness, and often did not get enough time to consult a doctor. The aim of health camp was to make health services available to the migrants at doorsteps. So there are some initiatives taken by the state governments or the municipal corporations or the non-profitable organizations in our country, but sometimes these particular programs they lack in some aspects. All right, so there are some progress going on about this particular social inclusion of internal migrants, but as a society we need to change our attitude towards this particular internal migrants, and then only these particular issues of multiple issues of internal migrants they can be reduced. All right, so that was this particular point of internal migrants and their rights and how these particular rights have been denied over the years. All right, and how these particular issues of internal migrants they can be solved uh, with the help of some NGOs or the support of government, or as a society we can also reduce their problems. All right, so in this lecture and last two lectures we have studied this particular point, and we will stop here as the particular point ends. In the next lecture we will take further point in the third chapter. All right, so if you have any doubt regarding this particular topic or the point of internal migrant or their inclusion in the society or their denial of rights, you can comment down below this section, or you can contact me on my phone number. All right, so thank you for listening lecture. Thank you. We will stop here.